Welcome back to the Ed Resonance Talks, everyone. Today, we're diving into a topic that's often romanticized but rarely understood in its full complexity: the teaching profession. We talk a lot about the calling of teaching, the intrinsic rewards, but rarely about the profound human cost. Alice, I know this is something you feel strongly about.
Absolutely, Robert. It's such a critical conversation, especially as we head into summer. For so long, society just assumed those 3 months off were this magical, frictionless period where teachers just naturally recharged. Rest, study, travel, all taken care of. But that's just not the reality anymore, if it ever truly was.
Exactly. The modern educational landscape is, frankly, a hyper-connected, incredibly demanding ecosystem. Teachers are not just teaching academics. They're managing complex interpersonal dynamics, social emotional crises, administrative pressures. It's a huge shift from that historical ideal.
And the impact of that intensity, that constant, high stakes, rapid fire decision making, it doesn't just switch off the moment the bell rings on the last day of school. In fact, for many educators, that abrupt cessation can actually trigger something really disorienting, something people in the community often call summer malaise. You know, that feeling of being completely at sea.
It's a critical psychological and physiological inflection point, Alice. This idea of summer malaise is a perfect example of how the public perception of an idyllic period of leisure is miles away from the empirical reality for educators. They go from 100 miles an hour to zero, and the system just doesn't know how to handle it.
Right? You've been operating in crisis mode for 9 months, driven by adrenaline and cortisol, and suddenly that's gone. Your body and mind are just like, what now? And that's why we wanted to dedicate this episode to really breaking down the research on educator well being and summer recovery. It's about prioritizing personal health, familial reconnection, and true physiological repair.
Because without that intentional strategic recovery, we're just setting them up for another year of burnout. Let's start with the hard numbers, because they truly contextualize the necessity for rigorous summer recovery. The 2025 State of the American Teacher Survey by RAND Corporation reveals some pretty stark realities.
Oh, tell me about it. That survey found teachers face significantly higher rates of job intrusion into their personal lives than similarly educated professionals in other fields. It's not a flexible, family friendly job anymore, if it ever was.
Not at all. And the primary driver of this distress? Untreated, long term, excessive stress, heavily exacerbated by systemic infrastructural deficits. Get this: 86% of school districts across the country report open teaching positions, and 70% of K 12 public school teachers say their institution is significantly understaffed.
That's mind boggling. I mean, it means existing teachers are constantly covering extra classes, handling extracurriculars without proper pay, navigating administrative tasks, all while morale is plummeting. It's a recipe for disaster.
It truly is. The numbers paint a grim picture. 53% of K 12 teachers report severe occupational burnout. While that's a slight decrease from 60% in 2024, teachers are still consistently more likely to experience frequent job related stress than working adults in any other sector.
And the intent to leave the profession? 16% are planning to leave by the end of this school year. And get this, a third of first year teachers left in 2022-2023 due to high workloads and minimal support. We're losing them before they even truly start.
The contractual work hour discrepancy is also infuriating. Teachers report working an average of 49 hours per week. That's approximately 10 hours above their contracted hours. We're talking about roughly 360 hours of unpaid labor over a 9-month academic year. It's essentially a hidden tax on their dedication.
Unpaid labor that drains them to the point where 46% say their job makes them too tired for activities in their private life. Compare that to only 13% of similar working adults who report the same level of exhaustion. That's a huge disparity.
And the lack of autonomy, too. 3 times as many teachers as similar working adults report difficulty changing schedules. This directly impacts their ability to attend to personal or family matters, and it's highly correlated with poor overall well being.
It's not just a universal problem either. The burden of occupational stress isn't distributed equally. The data highlights some really stark demographic disparities, especially for women and educators of color. For instance, female teachers, who are about three-quarters of the workforce, consistently report worse work-life balance, even if they're working the same hours as male teachers.
That's due to the disproportionate burden of secondary domestic labor. Female teachers with children spend about 40 hours per week on household duties and childcare. That's 10 hours more than male teachers with children. So for many women, summer break isn't recovery, it's just a shift from paid occupational labor to unpaid domestic labor. Their physiological recovery opportunities are severely subverted.
It's a double shift, really. And then you look at educators of color. The RAND survey shows low pay and job-related stress disproportionately affect Black and Hispanic Latino educators. Black educators earn on average $4,400 less than their white counterparts and are often assigned to higher-need, under-resourced schools.
Which leads to higher stress levels. In the last academic year, 56% of Black teachers and 66% of Hispanic Latino teachers reported severe job related stress, along with higher rates of depression and a greater intent to leave. So, summer recovery strategies can't be one size fits all. They need to account for these varied baseline deficits.
Right, it's not just about resting for everyone. Now, Robert, you mentioned the physiological toll. Can you dive a bit deeper into what this chronic stress actually does to a teacher's body and brain?
Absolutely. It's fascinating, but also deeply concerning. The effort recovery theory posits that sustained work effort depletes physiological and psychological resources. Without sufficient recovery, this strain accumulates, leading to persistent, irreversible negative health effects. Teaching systematically dismantles the human nervous system.
Dismantles? That's a strong word, but it resonates with what I hear from so many educators.
It is. We're talking about measurable neuroendocrine and immunological biomarkers. Burnout isn't just a psychological construct, it's a severe, measurable somatic condition. Our endocrine stress system, which includes the SAM axis for immediate fight or flight and the HPA axis for cortisol release, is constantly activated in teachers.
So, a teacher's body is basically in a constant state of on alert during the school year?
Precisely. Studies show teachers have significantly higher morning cortisol, perceived stress, and anger levels on workdays compared to free days. Cortisol, which should spike in the morning to get you going and then decline, stays elevated.
But what happens when that stress becomes chronic, when it's not just a spike, but a permanent state?
That's when it gets dangerous. Chronic stress, particularly leading to clinical occupational burnout, can lead to a paradoxical adaptation called a blunted HPA axis response, or hypocortisolism. This means the adrenal system is fundamentally exhausted. It can no longer mount a healthy, adaptive response to daily stressors. It's like the body's emergency alarm system has just worn out.
So, not only are they stressed, but their body can't even respond properly to the stress anymore? That's terrifying.
And the immunological consequences are profound. This HPA axis dysfunction disturbs cytokine regulation, promoting systemic pro inflammatory activity while weakening protective immune cells. Over time, this shifts the immune environment toward autoimmunity. That's why teacher burnout is robustly associated with chronic headaches, gastroenteritis, severe voice disorders, sleep impairment, and increased susceptibility to viral infections.
It's a full body assault, really, and that's before we even touch on the psychological cost of emotional labor. Teachers are constantly navigating the emotional landscapes of dozens, even hundreds of students daily. They're often masking their own feelings to maintain classroom stability, this surface acting, as it's called.
Surface acting is highly correlated with emotional exhaustion and depersonalization, drastically increasing burnout. It's emotionally draining to constantly put on a brave face, to suppress your authentic responses. While deep acting trying to genuinely internalize the required emotion is slightly less damaging, it still consumes immense cognitive resources.
So, this persistent emotional suppression leads to a profound depletion of psychological capital. No wonder teachers feel negative, cynical, anxious, and detached from their work, students, and colleagues. It compromises their entire sense of personal accomplishment.
Exactly. Which brings us back to that summer malaise we mentioned earlier. It's a highly relatable yet often unacknowledged crisis. The end of the academic year brings elation, of course, but that abrupt transition can trigger psychological whiplash. Teachers often report feeling rootless, at loose ends, completely unmoored from their professional identity.
Oh, I've heard this so many times. During the school year, you're on a rigid bell schedule, interacting with hundreds of people, triaging demands constantly. Then, suddenly, silence. It can lead to profound social isolation, going from a crowded classroom to maybe just your partner, or even total solitude.
And this dramatic shift often manifests as that summer malaise. Educators enter the break with these grand, unrealistic expectations of hyperproductivity. I'm going to clean the house, learn a new skill, plan next year's lessons, read all these books. But then they find themselves completely immobilized, sleeping excessively, struggling with basic tasks, and feeling immense guilt for their lack of output.
Yes, the guilt is real. And it's important to recognize this isn't a personal failure. It's a predictable physiological and psychological withdrawal response. Your central nervous system, which has been propelled by chronic stress hormones, suddenly decompresses. It's a shock.
Precisely. To navigate this, educators need to consciously establish transition rituals, deliberate actions that signal to the nervous system that the period of chronic vigilance has concluded. This could be as simple as completely clearing your physical workspace, archiving digital communications, or taking a few days of intentional guilt free rest, just letting your body recalibrate.
I love that idea of transition rituals. It makes so much sense, and it leads us right into the crucial concept of boundary management. Because for true summer recovery, you have to successfully manage the line between your professional and personal life.
Exactly. Boundary theory helps us understand this. Some people are integrators, they blend work and personal tasks, like checking school emails while watching TV. Others are segmenters, who keep rigid lines between work and home. And teachers are often cyclers, integrated during the year, trying to segment in the summer.
And given the demanding nature of education, research strongly indicates that strict segmentation is not just beneficial, it's often absolutely necessary for teacher well-being. It's the only way to achieve true psychological detachment.
Psychological detachment isn't just physically leaving the school building, it's the complete cessation of work related thoughts, rumination, and emotional engagement during off job time. Studies on constant connectivity confirm that blurred boundaries lead to work demands intruding into family time, which directly leads to impaired recovery and increased exhaustion.
So if you're still thinking about that difficult student, or that never-ending grading pile, or that email you should check, you're not actually recovering. The benefits of summer are neutralized before they even manifest.
Precisely. But when psychological detachment is successful, it opens the pathway for work family enrichment. That's when positive resources like renewed energy and patience transfer into your home life, enriching family relationships.
Okay, so how do teachers actually do this? What are some strategic tactics for implementing this strict segmentation?
Three key tactics. First, technological disconnection. Set up separate personal email accounts. Remove institutional email apps from your personal phone. Mute all school related notifications from June through August. The constant pings turn your personal device into a conduit for chronic stress, and removing that stimulus prevents your amygdala from re engaging the stress response.
That's a tough one for many, but so necessary. You're constantly being pulled back in. Second tactic?
Second, spatial segregation. If you must do any summer work, designate a specific, contained physical workspace at home. Crucially, avoid working in spaces associated with rest, like your bedroom or living room. Packing away all teaching materials into inaccessible boxes creates essential geographical and psychological distance. Environmental cues are powerful.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Don't let your bed become your office. And the third one?
Third is temporal fencing. Set rigid, non negotiable hours for any necessary summer preparation. For example, Tuesdays from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. only. Once that time limit expires, all materials are put away, regardless of task completion. This prevents work from bleeding into your entire week, preserving leisure time for family and personal life.
I love that. It's about being really deliberate with your time. But beyond just disconnecting and setting boundaries, what does effective recovery actually look like? It's not just sitting on the couch, right?
You're right, Alice. The mere absence of work isn't enough. The quality of leisure matters. And this is where the DRAMMA model comes in, a robust framework from the Journal of Happiness Studies. It posits that leisure activities restore resources only when they satisfy six core psychological needs.
Okay, drama, let's break it down.
First, D is for detachment. This is the foundation, gaining profound mental distance, unwinding from work related thoughts. It triggers forgetting fixation, helping you forget stressful solutions. The research even suggests that physical relocation helps people who stay home for their whole vacation show lower detachment than those who physically move, even if it's just a local trip. So, actually getting out of your usual environment is key.
So even a weekend getaway to a different town helps signal to your brain, okay, we're not at school anymore, what's next?
Next is R for relaxation. This is about consciously reducing physiological arousal. Think low physical activation. True relaxation triggers your brain's default mode network, which is active during restful states and supports daydreaming and original thinking. Activities like sitting quietly in nature, listening to music, or reading for pleasure are essential. Beach vacations or nature retreats are better for relaxation than heavily scheduled city trips.
Okay, so chill out, don't overschedule your downtime. Got it. And the first A?
A is for autonomy. Teachers are so beholden to external schedules during the year, bells dictate everything. Summer must be used to reclaim personal sovereignty. Engage in self directed activities, completely free from external obligations. Unstructured days, self paced hobbies. It fulfills that fundamental human need for control.
That's huge. Having the freedom to decide what you do, when you do it, and whether you do it at all. What about the M?
M is for mastery. These are opportunities to leave your professional comfort zone and learn new skills, what they call serious leisure. Teachers' sense of professional mastery can get battered during the year, so rebuilding self efficacy through an unrelated domain is highly protective. Learn a language, take up woodworking, master a complex recipe, engage in competitive sports. It broadens your self esteem outside of work.
Oh, that's brilliant. Reminding yourself you're good at things beyond the classroom. And then another M?
M for meaning. This is about gaining a sense of purpose beyond pedagogy. Meditation, spiritual practices, volunteering for a non education cause, learning about new cultures. This prevents your identity from becoming dangerously monolithic, promoting a sense of aliveness and thriving.
It's about remembering who you are as a person, not just as the teacher. And finally, the last A?
A for affiliation. This is the basic human need to feel connected, loved, and cared for. Teaching can be paradoxically isolating, despite being surrounded by students. Social leisure, spending uninterrupted, quality time with a partner and children, is associated with the highest levels of affiliation. It repairs relationships strained by the academic year.
So it's not just about what you don't do, but what you do do. And it's interesting, the research mentions demographic nuances here too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Younger teachers, often juggling early career demands with young families, benefit most from pure detachment and relaxation. Their primary deficit is basic energy. Older veteran teachers who might be grappling with existential questions after a long career get more vitality from autonomy and mastery activities. So tailor your drama to your life stage.
That's really smart. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Now let's talk about identity, because that's something so deeply tied to teaching, this idea of self-complexity.
It's crucial. Society often encourages educators to view teaching not just as a job, but as a calling, leading to a highly singular self concept. But psychological theories suggest human knowledge about the self is healthiest when it's represented by multiple, distinct self aspects. Not just teacher, but also endurance runner, parent, musician, community advocate.
So if your entire identity is teacher, and you have a bad year, or a difficult class, or a poor evaluation, it feels like a devastating blow to your core self-worth.
Exactly. The ought self of the perfect teacher dominates, leading to severe anxiety and burnout. But if you have multiple identities, an occupational stressor only affects one facet, leaving the others intact to provide emotional buoyancy. Summer is a vital opportunity to actively reconstruct and nurture those dormant self aspects.
Shedding the teacher persona and leaning into hobbies completely unrelated to pedagogy, that's a powerful way to fortify psychological resilience. And speaking of physiological interventions, you mentioned something called Shinrin-yoku?
Ah, yes, forest bathing. Originating in Japan, it's about mindfully immersing yourself in a natural, forested environment. Not strenuous exercise, but engaging the senses. From an evolutionary perspective, our physiology is adapted to natural settings, making it an unparalleled catalyst for deep physiological relaxation.
So it's not just a nice walk in the woods, it's a therapeutic intervention.
Precisely. Landmark studies show that walking in nature directly reduces the activation of the brain's amygdala, your fear and alarm center. This then signals the HPA axis to dramatically downregulate the stress hormone cascade. Empirical outcomes are striking. reduced salivary cortisol, decreased pulse, lower blood pressure, inhibited sympathetic nervous activity, and enhanced parasympathetic activity. That's your rest and digest system.
That's incredible. It's actively rebooting your stress response system.
And there's more. Exposure to phytoncides, antimicrobial organic compounds released by trees, has been shown to aid in immune system recovery by increasing natural killer NK cell activity. This directly counters the immunosuppressive effects of chronic teacher burnout. For an educator, dedicating specific intervals during the summer for immersive nature walks isn't just recreational, it's a clinically validated intervention for endocrine and immunological rehabilitation.
Wow, I'm already planning my next forest bath. But here's the thing, Robert. I've heard that vacation benefits can be really ephemeral, right? They fade out quickly.
You're hitting on a crucial point, Alice. A systematic meta analysis by Jessica DeBloom and colleagues showed that while vacations reduce exhaustion, these positive effects fade extraordinarily quickly. For most, the benefits vanish within days and almost entirely dissipate between 12 days and 1 month after returning to work.
So, all that effort for nothing if you don't take steps to maintain it.
Exactly. And interestingly, the duration of the vacation doesn't proportionally extend the benefits. Taking a longer vacation doesn't inherently result in longer lasting effects. It takes about a week to truly disengage, but after that, the fade out is still rapid. And get this, perfectionist, self critical individuals often fare worse the week after a break because they spend their recovery time brooding about the work they aren't doing.
That's just heartbreaking. So, how can educators optimize their summer to delay this fade out? What are the anti fade out strategies?
First, the practice of savoring. This is consciously attending to and amplifying positive experiences. By actively reliving joyful summer memories through conversations, journaling, or revisiting photographs, you can neurologically reactivate those positive affective states, sustaining the physiological benefits long after the event.
So, keep that summer feeling alive in your mind, almost like a mental photo album. What's next?
Second, post vacation leisure maintenance. The most effective buffer against rapid fade out is simply continuing leisure activities after returning to work. Ensure weekends during the first months of school remain strictly non work periods. Engage in evening relaxation protocols. This dramatically slows the decline in well being.
That's tough when you're overwhelmed, but so vital, you can't just jump back into 60-hour weeks. And the third strategy?
Third, graduated reentry. Immediate work overload upon returning to the classroom acts as a severe shock to the nervous system, instantly wiping out vacation benefits. Educators must intentionally throttle their engagement during initial back to school in service days. Avoid the temptation to stay late, over volunteer, or commit to new committees in those critical first weeks.
That's a hard lesson to learn for many dedicated teachers. It's like going from 0 to 100 in one day. And the last one, I imagine, is related to rumination.
Exactly. Eradicating work rumination. Brooding or obsessively ruminating about upcoming school year problems while still on summer vacation is highly destructive. Your body's physiological stress response cannot distinguish between a perceived future threat and an active present one. Consciously practicing mindfulness and redirecting thoughts away from school ensures those biological recovery mechanisms remain active.
So be present in your break, really soak it in. Don't let the shadow of September ruin your July. And it's also important to remember that the cognitive benefits of rest are delayed, right? You don't immediately feel more creative.
Correct. Research shows positive changes in self reported creativity manifest roughly 2 weeks after vacation. This underscores the need for that gentle, protected reintegration into the academic year. Give yourself time for the benefits to actually take hold.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation, Robert. It truly reframes the summer break not as a perk, but as an absolute biological necessity. It's about halting the progression of allostatic load, rehabilitating a depleted neuroendocrine system, and reconstructing a fractured sense of identity.
Precisely. And to maximize that restorative potential, educators need to approach their time off with intense intentionality, guided by these scientifically validated principles: ruthless boundary segmentation, severing technological tethers, diversifying recovery through the DRAMMA model, cultivating self complexity, leveraging physiological interventions like forest bathing.
It's a blueprint for profound reconnection with your core humanity. And while systemic reforms are desperately needed to alleviate the structural burdens on educators, individual teachers do retain agency over their personal recovery strategy. It's about taking that power back.
By treating the summer months as a deliberate, science based rehabilitation period, teachers can successfully wind down, reconnect, and forge the resilient, complex identities necessary to endure and thrive within their incredibly demanding profession. It's not just about getting through the next year, it's about making sure you can actually live through it.
Well said, Robert. This isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving, and it starts with a truly restorative summer. Thank you for shedding light on such an important topic. And to all the educators listening, we hope this gives you some concrete tools to truly make this summer count for you.
Absolutely. Take care of yourselves out there. Thanks for listening, everyone.